Hi, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Talkative Mom Show right here on MX24. I'm Eno Quagraine, your host, and on this show we discuss all things parenting and we highlight female entrepreneurs who are killing it in their businesses. Today we'll be discussing homeschooling in Ghana, and I'm sure you have so much to say on this topic. Connect with us on all our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at MX24GH. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Talkative Mom. This show is supported by Cerelac. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Talkative Mom Show. We are at the Float Wellness Spa. This is a mommy wellness spa located at East Airport. You just come in and de-stress. My lovely outfit is by Evic Store. Evic Store is located at East Legon, and they are on Instagram at Evic Store. Today we are discussing homeschooling in Ghana, and my lovely guest is Carissa Nete Marbel, who is a homeschooling mom.
Yes.
Welcome, Carissa.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so Carissa, I want you to enlighten us on homeschooling because, you know, in Ghana it's very new. Yes. Some people have done it in the past, but it's not something that is really popular. The popular thing is, you know, take your child to school and go pick them up and that stuff. So what made you decide to start homeschooling?
So I wanted to say thank you, first of all, for this opportunity. I feel like I'm very new to the world of homeschooling myself, and there are more experienced people who could possibly be here. So thank you so much for having me. Yes, homeschooling it's picking up in Ghana and across Africa, but it's still quite a new idea. Many people are not too sure about, you know, what it is and what it entails. But what led us to the idea was it came out of our faith. Okay. So I need to preface the whole thing by saying that, you know, it was a decision that was dictated by what we believe as Christians, right? Okay. So for us, we believe that the Bible should dictate our lives and what we do, how we live, basically. Right. And the Bible has a lot to say on how to raise children. Okay. So the whole thing started with me listening to some sermons by this preacher called Vodi Bokam. Okay. And he was sort of arguing for homeschooling, and he drew my attention to the fact that we as parents have a God-given responsibility to raise our own children. Okay. When you look at Ephesians chapter 6, I think it's verse 4, so I'm not too good with the numbers. But it talks about how fathers must bring up their children in the discipline and instruction of the Lord. Okay. And so there's this component of instructing. Okay. So it means that we are supposed to be teaching them, surrounding them with the word. You know, it's supposed to be something that is a part of their lives. Right. Right. And then there's also another verse in Deuteronomy. Like I said, I'm not too good with the numbers, but it says that we should sort of teach our children, like, as we are sitting down, when we are lying down, when we rise up. So it sort of paints this picture that you're supposed to surround your children, you know, with the word of God. Okay. Like, it's supposed to be a part of your daily life. Okay. Right. And so it got me thinking as to, okay, how do we do this practically, right? Because, I mean, how do you teach somebody who's not even with you, like, for most parts of the day, right? Because the data says that children spend about 14,000 hours in school. That's from kindergarten to, let's say, high school when they're ready to go into school. And that's a lot of hours away from the home, right? And so it was more like, okay, how do we put two and two together, right? Okay. Because when you take the whole day, right, waking up, dressing up for school, eating, commuting to school, and then actually spending time in school, coming back from school, eating, bathing, like when you put all of that together, the data says that all of that is about 23 hours in a day. So that means parents have just 1 hour every day to try to instruct impart some knowledge into the children. And I mean, for that doesn't even include things like screen time and extracurricular activities and all of those things. So it was more of a practical thing for us, like, how do we do this, like, in a practical way, you know? So
to you, homeschooling was about imparting knowledge, you know, from parent to child.
To child, yes. Especially bringing them up from a Christian for like a Christian worldview. Right. So I don't believe that education is neutral, right? Okay.
What do you mean by that?
So with every form of education, there is a worldview that is being imparted underneath that education. Okay. Even the modern educational system as we know it right now had an underlying philosophy and goals that it wanted to achieve with its the people who were receiving that education.
Right.
And so 14,000 hours is a lot of time for children to be spending. And the thing is, with worldview, you don't know that this is what you're being taught, right? It's after a long time when you start to process and think through that, okay, maybe I'm seeing things through a certain lens, right?
Right.
So with our children, we want to be like making sure that they are seeing things through a Christian lens or through a biblical lens. We want them to know about God, even through their subjects that they're learning. We want them to know that, okay, it is God that created the world. And when we learn history, for example, we start right from creation, you know, down to what it is now, right? And so we want them to be able to see things from that worldview. I mean, I know there are
I understand this bit, but then why don't you then take your child to a Christian school, for example, because they will do the same thing?
Yes, the thing is, I'm not too sure that in Christian schools, I don't want to make a blanket statement, but it's not all the time that Christian schools are actually teaching kids from that particular lens of God is, you know, is in everything that we are learning, you know. Sometimes, yes, it's a Christian school because they add on, let's say, like a Bible class. Right. And so that's why it's a Christian school, or maybe the founders were Christian. But sometimes you may not necessarily get that kind of teaching that is like filtered down right through even like the materials that they are learning in like across board, across subjects. Yes.
So you want to make sure that, for instance, if it's science, it's from the angle, the biblical angle, right? If it's math, because all that is in the Bible, and that's you know, your belief.
Yes, I mean, there are so many reasons why people would choose to homeschool. I mean, some people want to connect more with their children because, like I'm saying, 14,000 hours is a lot of time to be away from your parents. And usually I find that by the time that you send your children as these little things to school, and by the time they finish high school, you realize that you don't really know them because you don't know what it is that has shaped them. You don't know the things that have their hearts. But as Christian parents, we want our children we want to have their hearts so that they can listen to what we want them to listen to and be shaped by what we want them to be shaped by.
So that actually brings me to my next question, because now you are shaping your kids. Now there's a notion out there that homeschool kids are not properly socialized. So here you have your child, you know, you're able to impart all the knowledge in them, but then when it comes to the social bit, people have the notion that they are lacking in that aspect. So how are you able to, you know, properly socialize your child through this process?
Okay, I understand that people have a lot of concern when it comes to socialization. I think people have this conception that homeschool children are awkward, socially awkward. But in my experience, the homeschool children that I have met and interacted with personally, they are more social than I am. Right, and I went through school like right from kindergarten to whenever. They can carry on conversations with adults. They have no problems communicating. And here's the thing, I think when people think of homeschooling, they think it's just confined to the home. But I feel like maybe a more descriptive term would be life schooling, because then your child has the opportunity to interact with life as a whole, because you take them out to the store. Even my child as a 2-year-old, when I take her to the store, I hand her the money and I let her give it to the cashier. Right, and she's like so excited, and she's learning those like social interactions from being a part of life. You know, statistics show that homeschool children actually go out more of the house. Like they are more likely to go on field trips and you know, go out and explore. And so they have the opportunity to socialize with people, not just people of their same age group, right? But people who are older than them, people who are younger than them. And so I feel like that is a more richer socialization, you know, more than just being in a class with just your age mates. And the thing is, there's no other situation in life where you would just be with your age mates. Like, it only happens in school. When you're in the workplace, you have to socialize with people who are older than you, younger than you. And in school, it's sort of like a simulation, if I can put it that way. You know? I don't want to make it seem like school is bad in all.
Because you have experienced that, so you can't
in all circumstances, because everybody's life and situation are different, right? But I'm just trying to explain why we are choosing to do this over, something else. And the thing is, so I looked up the definition of socialization, right? And it's about transferring the norms of the society to a child, right? And I was just wondering to myself, their classmates don't know the norms either, right? So like, what is the best way for them to actually learn these norms if it's not through like interacting with society and people who are older than them, And then a lot of times we don't talk about the effects of negative socialization, right? Where there's peer pressure, there's bullying that children have to deal with in schools. We don't talk about the fact that, and like I was saying, whoever is educating your children is essentially discipling them. So they're either going to disciple them in the right way, or they're going to disciple them in a way that you may not necessarily agree with or want for your child. And a lot of times, because of all the time that they spend with their peers, it's their peers that end up discipling them. So whatever it is that like their peers feel like it's the cool thing to do, at that time, that's where everybody has to sort of like go through.
Now, talking about negative socialization, are you not worried that your child, for instance, being homeschooled, will never be able to navigate that? So, for instance, if you've never experienced peer pressure, how would you know if you'll be able to overcome it or not? If all you know is like just like positive parenting, things like that, then it's like when you are faced with, and you will be faced with that in the future, how do you overcome that? Are you not worried? How do you think you'll be able to help her navigate that experience?
For me, it's I think about it in terms of training. Right. I think that it's sort of unfair to expect a child who doesn't have the tools to be able to defend themselves or understand what to do in certain situations, to just kind of leave them and then like just figure it out on your own. For me, it's about, I need to train you to a certain point so that when you do encounter these situations, you know what to do. Right. It's not, I don't want to like assume that we live in, this kind of
bubble.
Perfect society or bubble. Like even sometimes when we go outside, people would make certain kind of weird comments, and in my mind I'm like, do you really have to say this like, to a child?
About your child?
So I mean, once you interact with life in general, you definitely come across some of these things. But I think that sometimes our children are just not prepared. Right. And let's also think about the fact that, like, when we become adults, a lot of the trauma and the things that we carry along with us is from some of these childhood experiences.
And then we end up projecting it
on our children. And we spend a whole lifetime trying to unpack and, go through therapy and all of these things. And maybe if somebody had said, okay, this is what you do in this situation, maybe, we would have come out a little bit more, okay at the end of the day. That's what I think, because to me, when you think about like, so the Bible says train up a child in the way he should go, and when he grows up he will not depart from it. And when you think about a musician or an athlete, they are spending hours of their life training, trying to perfect and master this skill. And yet we feel like, okay, if we just give our children like 2 hours of Sunday school,
that's enough,
every day, that's enough for them to counteract all the things in the world that they're going to face. But to me, it's simply not enough time, because I was thinking about it, like when Jesus came on earth, he was talking with his disciples, he was walking with them, living with them for 3 whole years. And these were grown men, right? And by the time he was leaving, they still didn't get it. Like, they didn't get his message and what he was talking about. It was after everything had transpired, when the Holy Spirit came, that's when they started to like, oh, okay, this is what he was talking about. And this, and so I'm just thinking, like, well, my child, it's not enough time. Like, people think that, okay, 18 years or so is a long time. But nobody will tell you that children grow up slowly. No, like, they grow up so fast. You blink and then like they are, you know, and so we don't have as much time as we think. And, training up a child in the way he should go, it's not an easy thing.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah.
character training is not an easy thing.
Yeah.
It requires you repeating and repeating and repeating and teaching the same lessons over and over and over and over again.
Okay.
So it just seemed to us like practically, if we really want to do this, then homeschooling just seems like the way that, you know, makes sense, you know,
right,
gives us an opportunity to do all of these things.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, that's one reason why.
Okay.
I mean, the biblical aspect is one reason.
Okay.
The other reason too was I felt this. So this was even before homeschooling was on my radar. Right.
Okay.
I felt like school had failed me in so many areas.
How?
Right.
How?
Like I came out of school feeling very unprepared for life.
Okay.
You know, like I didn't know basic things like banking.
Right.
You know, I wasn't very financially literate.
Yeah.
You know, and as an adult, money is like your lifeblood, so to speak. And I didn't know how to even manage that money very well. I didn't know how to think critically. I wasn't taught world history.
Yeah.
I don't understand how politics works. And so
don't you think that, I mean, that's peculiar to our country? Because, you know, in certain societies, they do know all this
and so
in
this
school.
is where we find ourselves, right? So how do we break that cycle then? You know, how do I ensure that my child is getting all of these things if I cannot be guaranteed that they're going to get it from the schools, right? And so that was my thinking, like, okay, I can't see that there's a flaw in the system and then put you through the same system and expect like a different outcome, basically. So I just wanted to be sure that I knew what my child was learning and what my child was learning was actually going to prepare her for life. You know, I mean, there's a good example. I wasn't very good with math in school.
Okay.
And for me, I'm more of a visual person, so I think more visually.
Right.
And I always struggled with numbers because for some reason I just couldn't visualize them in my mind. So you give me like a big number like 13 and 19, add them together. Like I wouldn't know what to do with the numbers, right? And
this is actually getting really interesting, but we'll have to go for a quick commercial break. When we get back, we have more. This show is proudly supported by Cerelac.
In the first 2 years, your baby will experience amazing growth in so many ways. To fuel it, they need the right nutrition. With Cerelac, one bowl of goodness a day provides the wholesomeness of carefully selected grains, the Iron Plus, which helps support brain development, and the yummy taste baby loves, assuring you the right nutrition in one bowl. Cerelac, it's all good, Mom.
This advert is FDA approved.
If you're into content production for digital or TV, say hello to the MX24 Studios. We're the prime location for your music video shoots, live productions, TV shows, and more. From state-of-the-art equipment to a very skilled production team, we've got you covered. Step into our modern and spacious studio with a changeable lighting system and foolproof sound. Our touchscreen studio projection monitors come with other features, including Wi-Fi connection, screen mirroring, and a remote workspace mode. Take advantage of our high-quality cameras to shoot in 4K and a variety of the best lighting equipment guaranteed to put life into your sets. Locate us on the first floor of the Silicon House building off the Boundary Road, East Legon. Give us a call on 024-235-5956 or 054-454-8612. You can also email us at info@mx24gh.com.
Welcome back to the Talkative Mom Show. We are still discussing homeschooling in Ghana. If you just tuned in, we have Carissa. Carissa, you were sharing your knowledge on homeschooling, and you were telling us about how you felt you weren't prepared for life. There's so much you didn't learn in terms of finance, investments, you know, all that. So how did you finally learn all about that? How did you?
So I had to do the research myself, right? I had to figure it out, you know.
Online,
I had to, you know, watch videos, take courses, all of these things, just to prepare myself. And another good thing or another objective usually of homeschooling is to teach children how to be self-learners. Right? How to be able to teach themselves something. So you can pick up a book and then you can dive into it yourself because you want to learn about that. And so I realized that if I didn't have those tools to be able to learn all of these things on my own, then I would have been, you know, just stranded, clueless, and, you know. So
okay, so in terms of, you know, standardized tests, do you even believe in it? You know, before we get there, do you believe in standardized tests?
It's a complicated answer.
Okay.
Yes, and no.
Okay. So yes, you believe in it.
Yes.
Okay.
Because a lot of homeschoolers actually prepare to take standardized testing. So when your child is at that age, maybe they need to take the BEC. Usually they can take like a year to prepare and then write the BEC.
Yes.
So if there's a need for standardized testing, yes, of course.
So how are you preparing your child for it currently, you know?
I mean, well, for us, I mean, we still have a long way to go, right? But like I'm saying, they can, once they have those tools and they know how to learn, I mean, it doesn't really matter what subjects you put in front of them.
Okay.
They should and they could be able to study and then take the exam.
Okay, so, you know, walk me through. I'm a parent. I want to start my child out with homeschooling. I want to homeschool my child.
Okay.
There are standardized tests out there in the school, in the schools. How am I going to prepare that child to be able to take those tests? Are there books out there that I can buy myself? How do I train myself to teach my child how to take these tests? You know, how would I do it practically?
Okay. So the thing is, homeschooling can take on as many different forms as you think.
Okay.
Right. So if, let's say, your child wants to prepare for a particular exam, you can find tutors that are teaching for that particular exam.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So the tutors can handle the teaching of that exam prep.
Right.
That's one thing.
Okay.
Or, I mean, there are books that are associated with, you know, whatever exam it is that they are going to take. So you can get this child those books.
Okay.
Maybe you can take a year or a year and a half just to prepare solely for that examination.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just because you're at home, it doesn't mean that like you're sort of limited. No, you can usually sometimes you can even sign up for classes even in the schools just so that you can prepare for that particular exam.
Right.
And a lot of people still use like the traditional curriculums at home.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily that they are veering off completely, you know, off the traditional path. It's just that they are doing it in a home educating setting.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So you mentioned no, you do not completely agree with standardized tests. I want you to explain that bit as well.
Simply because I had this friend who kind of struggled with school. He was a brilliant person, but he kind of just struggled with school. And he told me that sometimes it's like they are trying to judge a fish's ability to fly.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So what does that mean exactly?
So sometimes it just means that some people, I don't think that sometimes testing is like the thing that is going to let you know how intelligent a person is.
Or how successful
is going to be.
Right.
I mean, there are so many people who have struggled in school just because they just couldn't fit within the school's mold.
Right.
And you know, the school system is not entirely tailored to like the individual's child's like learning style and, you know, learning abilities or even the child's pace. You know,
it's more like a one size fits all.
Yes.
And meanwhile, we are all different.
Yes, we're all different people. Everybody learns differently. Everybody processes things at different rates.
Exactly.
And so sometimes a child might know something, but maybe they're not good at taking tests.
Right.
You know, or maybe the person is just gifted differently.
Right.
You know, so, and forcing the child to take a standardized test is not necessarily so fair to that child. I think that there are lots of us who were told that we will not amount to anything, you know, because we didn't do well in school.
Right.
We couldn't take tests. I mean, and even when you look at the system of taking tests, it's mostly a system of memorize, chew, pass, and forget.
Especially in Ghana.
Especially in Ghana.
Yeah.
And so is that really a mark of an educated person? You know, so that means that if I'm a student who is not able to memorize things, then it means that I'm failing my whole life. You know. So that's what I mean by I don't see testing as a true mark of an educated mind, because everybody's different.
Yeah.
Everybody's different.
I get that. So far, how expensive, you know, has it been? Because that's another conception out there that homeschooling is expensive. It's pricey, buying so many books, you know, online learning and stuff like that. How expensive has it been?
For us, because we're just starting out, for us it's as expensive as we want to make it.
Okay.
What I like about it is that there's no pressure that I have to like pay school fees.
Okay.
Right? And so what we do is we save up.
Okay.
Like we use the whole year to save up. Then we buy the curriculum for the next year.
Okay.
And so that gives us a little bit of breathing room to prepare for, to prepare for the school year.
Okay.
It can be, I think in Ghana, it's expensive because for us, one of the things that we're doing is trying to build a home library because we don't have libraries. Like we don't have access to good libraries in Ghana. So that is what is making it expensive for us because we have to buy all of the books ourselves, right? Yeah. But it can be as expensive as you want it to be. It's very, very flexible. It's very, very customizable to whatever your needs are. And I think it can actually be a benefit for people who are on a budget. Okay. Because a lot of what we do is that sometimes I feel like, okay, shipping costs and all of those things are going to be too much. I just get like the PDF version of the book. Okay. And then I print it at home. Okay. Right? So those, I found little ways to sort of save costs. And the thing is, once you get like the master curriculum, so far as your child isn't maybe like too different and you want to like customize what you are using to the child, you can just repeat. Like you can use it for multiple children, so it can be as expensive as you want it to be, depending on what you want to get for your child.
Okay. So you went online and got the curriculum and then ordered the books. So the books don't exist in Ghana. You have to bring them in.
Not necessarily. I mean, there are so many bookshops in Ghana, right? Yeah. You can find good children's books. Yeah. Because I was looking for something specific, which is why I chose to order from outside, right? But you can find books. There are very good bookshops. You can even use the curriculum that is used in schools if that's what you want to do. Maybe you don't want your child to veer off too much. You can still use the curriculum and then tailor it to the child. So you can tailor it to the child's pace and then make the learning come alive in a way that the child would understand.
So now let's move to you. How are you able to combine you're a mom?
Yes.
And you're also the teacher?
Yes.
And you're also a wife?
Yes.
Managing the home?
Yes.
How are you combining all this?
By grace.
So what's your day like?
So we start our days with, well, like I said, she's still young. So our schooling time is not very long. I think it just takes us like an hour and a half or something. So it doesn't take up a whole day. And then it's a bit difficult because we have to entertain a toddler for a whole day. So that is a challenge. But we found our own rhythms. I mean, if you follow me on social media, you know I'm an obsessive list maker. And like I'm really about schedules and all of those things. So I've found ways to sort of schedule everything in so that I can take care of the home. There are certain things that I know, I can manage when it comes to the house. So I manage those things on a daily basis. And then the other things that I know that, I'm going to need help for those things. So I get help for those
so you have someone helping?
Not on a daily basis. So I have broken up my tasks into like daily and weekly and monthly. So I manage the daily things, and then I enlist some help sometimes for the weekly things and then for the monthly things. So I don't have a live-in or somebody that's coming on like a very, very regular basis. But yeah, I've just found ways to manage my time. It just means that I also have to be very disciplined and be a good manager of my own self. So that I can manage all the things that I have to do.
So currently you're a stay-at-home mom.
Yes.
Do you feel that in the future maybe you would want to have a full-time job or a business, and how do you think you'll be able to manage that as well?
I said now I don't necessarily have. There are a few projects that I'm working on like on the side. But I said now I don't know. I mean, there are things I'm working on like that kind of complements the homeschooling that we're doing. So maybe in the future some of those projects will finally materialize, right? But as of now, I don't have too many aspirations. I just feel like for me, for now, this is the most important thing.
This is where your focus is.
Yes, this is where my focus is, and I want to give it like my all by 100%.
So with regards to your daughter, how is she I don't see adjusting because she never started formal school. So how is she coping with this? Like, how is it like? Is it to her? This is her normal, isn't it?
I mean, it's not. I don't think she's known
any other.
So maybe she wouldn't have any grid to sort of compare it to. But for her, she loves being at home. All of the things and the concepts that we are introducing to her, like. One of the things that I love is being able to see her learning, being able to actually see her getting it and grasping it, and I think it's such a joy, because you bring them home and they're like this tiny thing, and then now she's like asking you questions and telling you that this is this, and it's just like a joy to me.
No, I love it because I follow you on Instagram. I see. I think she's reading. Is she reading, or
she's starting to learn? She's starting to learn like the alphabets and the alphabet sounds. And she started to talk very early. And one of the things I realized was that she would memorize the books. So we would read to her, and then she would complete the sentence. Yeah,
because that's why I thought she was reading, because she was,
So she had memorized, we didn't have too many books when we started out, so we were reading the same books over and over and over again. And I started noticing that, when you get to a certain point, she can complete the sentence. And I mean, if you can complete the sentence, it means you know what the other things are. It's just that maybe she didn't have the vocabulary at that time to be able to do. So now that she can really talk, she can actually tell you like what the story is about. And so when I saw that, I'm like, okay, maybe we can do something more with this, because it seems like your memory is like something else. So we started to memorize. We started to memorize scripture and hymns and poetry and all of those things. So those are some of the things that we've been doing now. And now earlier this year, I saw that she expressed like interest in knowing what the letters, like the letter sounds and the things were. So now that's what we are focusing on now. And we started in January, I think. And now she's gotten, like, let's say about 5 or 6 of the letters she knows. Like, A says, this and So we are working on it bit by bit.
Do you get help from your husband as well?
He is working full time. So for now, most of the schooling is my job. But I mean, he's always available to read to her. And the thing is, learning happens 24/7. It's not necessarily confined to just like one block of the day. So if there's anything that she needs help with, and he's available, he will definitely help.
So through this, you started homeschooling conversations. That's the name of the podcast.
Homeschool Conversations Africa.
And that was a way for you to meet other parents who are homeschooling, or what was the purpose of this exactly?
So I think it was more to sort of educate people, because like you're saying, a lot of people feel like it's this like weird fringe idea, so it was just more to let people know that there are people who homeschool and we're not as weird as just to let people hear the stories of homeschooling from people on this side.
And so far, how has it been like? Have you
it's been good. It's been very good so far. We realized that we're in such a niche markets that we don't have like a very big listener base so far, but so far it's growing. We've connected with so many homeschooling moms, and we are interviewing a few homeschooling moms in Nigeria now, especially for this season, and it's been good. It's been really good building that community around.
Do you find that there are a lot more moms, or let's say parents out there, who are homeschooling their kids in Ghana than we think?
I think the community might be, it's not as big as you think, but it's also not as small as you think. So through this, I've been able to get in touch with other homeschooling moms. And so there's a little community of homeschooling moms, and that's another way. Let me just say, that's another way that we get our kids to socialize. Is you can meet with the other homeschoolers.
That's really interesting. Like, no, because you see, in Ghana, it's really foreign to us. I have met a couple of people who were homeschooled. They are older than I was, and I found at that time, forgive my ignorance, but at that time I found it so strange, because I was like, how at that time, this was like years ago, and I couldn't believe they were homeschooled. We went to their place. So it's a family, a musical family. We call them musical family because they play piano, and then their parents teach people how to play. So they told us that they were homeschooled, and really, it couldn't have, like, the conception out there. It's a misconception, because honestly, they are so normal. Like they're just like everyone else. If they didn't tell us that they were homeschooled,
you wouldn't know.
We wouldn't have known. So I really think you guys are doing really great.
Thank you.
I'm glad that your daughter is picking up on like so many things, and I'm glad that she's immersing herself in like just like life stuff. And do you have anything that you want to share with regards to misconceptions out there, or like anyone out there who wants to maybe start homeschooling, doesn't know where exactly to start from, and all that?
I think it's always good to define your why.
Okay.
You know, I think it's good to have a strong reason why you want to homeschool, and then you can go off of that. Because I'm not going to lie, it's not easy.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just like doing anything else in life. I mean, a lot of good things don't come easy, right? You have to put in the work, and it's just the same. So I think it's a good thing to define why you want to homeschool.
Okay.
And then you want to figure out what the country's laws are, you know, regarding homeschooling.
Are there some countries out there that have
yes, some
banned
countries don't allow
wow.
parents to homeschool their kids. Yeah, so you just need to figure out what the laws are. Sometimes you need to send in some papers to the state and all of that. So you just need to figure out what your country's laws are, and then maybe you want to figure out what kind of philosophy or view that you're going to teach your kids from, because there are many different schools of thought when it comes to how children should be educated.
Right.
So for example, there's like the classical view, there's Charlotte Mason, there's traditional schooling, there's unschooling. So like there's a lot to choose from. So depending on what your goals are as a parent, and then how your child learns, or like who your child is, how you want to tailor the education to, you can choose from a philosophy.
What philosophy did you choose?
So we are going by the classical.
Okay.
Yeah, we're doing classical education.
Is that the same as the faith-based, or that's different?
So it's, how do I say? It's not necessarily the same, but so we are more like Christian classical educators.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So yeah, let me just put it that way. It's not necessarily faith-based.
Okay.
Classical education has to do more with sort of training up the child in a way that they know how to learn themselves.
Okay.
They are good critical thinkers. They know how to analyze and yeah, just like in a nutshell, to reason for themselves, to think critically. Yes, so that is why we chose that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things.
That's one of the things you have to consider. And like I said, you could just as well do the normal schools curriculum at home. Okay. I mean, you don't necessarily have to veer off so far. Yeah. Yeah. And then I mean, everything, when you're doing something new, it's always scary. And you always feel like you need to question yourself, am I doing the right thing? You know, because it's easier to go with the flow than to try to do something different. Yeah. So once you have a good reason why you want to do it, you just, you know, stick with it. There's nothing that comes easy. I think just consistency. I think a lot of homeschooling moms find that their children just flourish because they have the freedom, and they find that their children actually come to love learning. You know, it's not that like somebody's like shoving down something in your throat. Yeah. They come to love learning. They develop really deep interest in whatever it is that they're learning. Yeah. So I think, you just have to stick with it. Yeah.
I mean, I'm actually really glad that you mentioned that, because that's the thing about education. A lot of times kids don't love, for me, I'm growing up, I didn't love going to school. And that's because, you know, it's like, it's time for math.
Yes.
And then we learn just math. It's time for
time for this, I
had to grow up and learn that you go out there and like there's math out there. Like, you know, math is not just
like
a book.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so it's very interesting that you mentioned that, and I'm happy that you're going about it in this way. I pray that you know, lots more people get to learn more about homeschooling and like have that as an option as well, because I think it's really great.
Yeah, I think people don't know that you can't, like, it's an option, you know. Yeah. Because sometimes you can be unhappy with like the school that your child is going to, or like we interviewed one mom who lived really far away from like any of the good schools. And you know how Accra is, like all the good schools are like in a particular area. So like if you live like too far away, it's a commute to get to get there. And so she decided to homeschool her kids. And I think a lot of people would not have thought that like
this was an option.
You know?
Okay. So in a scenario where, for instance, you have a family member, it could be your cousin, who has a child just around the same age as your child and wants you to homeschool their child for them, is that something you'd be open to doing?
I've actually received this request from maybe like 2 people. And it's a bit difficult for me because I feel like a big part of homeschooling is the home, right? And so it's an opportunity for the parents to connect with the child at home, through the education.
Right.
And so if I'm homeschooling somebody else's child, they will assimilate to the things in our home,
right?
And then there'll be that kind of
it's like a gap.
It's like a gap, So that's my main challenge. But I'm not necessarily opposed to the idea completely. I mean, if it's something feasible, I don't think I would mind.
Okay. What are your final words for anyone out there that wants to start homeschooling?
So it's not as fringe as you think it is. It could be a really good thing for your family. You can get to connect with your children. Your children can develop a real love for learning, and maybe just don't be too afraid. You can. Lots of good things require bravery and hard work.
And then where would they be able to learn about this? Because I know you have a podcast.
Yes. So they can follow our podcast. We interview lots of homeschool moms and dads. We have interviewed homeschool parents who have graduated some children. So you can actually listen to those episodes and, glean a lot of information from those.
Your podcast?
So it's Homeschool Conversations Africa podcast. It's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Google Podcasts, and you can find it on all the major podcast platforms. Our page on Instagram is homeschool_conversations, and then on Facebook is Homeschool Conversations Africa podcast. So lots of information, lots of more knowledgeable people that you can listen to and connect with.
Thank you so much, Carissa.
Thank you for having me.
So much. So as you heard here, homeschooling is nothing strange. You can actually do it yourself at home. We'll go for a quick commercial break. When we get back, we have Work Kits.
In the first 2 years, your baby will experience amazing growth in so many ways. To fuel it, they need the right nutrition. With Cerelac, 1 bowl of goodness a day provides the wholesomeness of carefully selected grains, the Iron Plus, which helps support brain development, and the yummy taste baby loves, assuring you the right nutrition in 1 bowl. Cerelac, it's all good, Mom.
This advert is
My name is Abna Obeng. I'm a married woman with 3 kids. I'm a mompreneur, and I'm the creative lead for Party Hub Ghana Limited. Party Hub Ghana started as an event design company, and later we branched into a party supply store, currently with 2 branches, one at East Airport and one at Makola. We've been in existence for over 8 years and creating a lot of memories for a lot of families here in Accra, Ghana, Kumasi, Takoradi, you name it. Throughout this entrepreneurial journey, it's been an exciting one and a very challenging one as well. But the center of our business is based purely on God, and I'm thankful for how far God has brought us on this journey, and even thankful and grateful for where He'll be taking us in the next years to come. Currently, our main focus is on our party supply business, which provides quality and affordable balloons for balloon professionals and DIY mamas. And COVID has even taught us that, more importantly, people want to celebrate in small numbers. And we thought to ourselves, how do we assist our moms to do their own stuff at home? Hence the party supply store. Also, from my experience from event designing, we realized that we couldn't source good quality balloons locally. And even if you get some locally, the prices were really high and the quality was not great. So throughout my design journey, whenever I travel, I buy different types of balloons from different companies. I bring it down, try it, and see how it works. Through the process, we identified a few companies that we can work with. And throughout the COVID period, the lockdown, we were able to place our orders, brought them in, and we're able to assist a lot of event professionals and moms design their own parties at home. Party Hub Ghana started 8 years ago. I would say it just started from nowhere. As a mom with 2 kids then, I was home and I knew I had a strong passion and desire for event design, event planning. I can never sit still when I go to a party. I always want to be at the center of helping things out at the event. So I said to myself, why don't I start an event design business? So we started with Party Hub Ghana. We started with a kids party design. Then we moved on to adult parties as well. The journey for us at Party Hub hasn't been an easy one in terms of event design aspect, in terms of going to clients' homes, going and being disappointed. Someone calls you to come for a job, you go and assess the job, only for you to be told a couple of days later, I found another vendor. So sometimes that discouraged us. I have a very supportive husband and family who kept cheering me on. My mom too has been a major factor in terms of me moving forward, in terms of encouraging me to dream big, not to think small, think outside the box and move. And also, I want to thank a very good friend of mine who is passed now, but I'm sure her sister will see this. Gifty was very, very instrumental in my journey as an entrepreneur when I doubted myself the most. Along the way, I started with a team of about 5, mainly being part-time, 4 being part-time workers, and 1 a full-time staff, Salvation, who has been with me from the very beginning. When COVID hit, we had to lay people off. And then again, we had to restructure. So that boils down to dreaming big and thinking outside the box. As I mentioned earlier, we always used to pick up things when we travel. So COVID just brought everything back into perspective to start actively the party supply store. And currently we have a staff strength of 6, and we have part-time people we call on when we have jobs, event design jobs. It hasn't been easy, but then I'm grateful for how far we've come. And I know that as an entrepreneur, it can be very lonely, but if you have the support of family, you're able to forge on. I am a workaholic. Some will say it's a good thing, some will say it's a bad thing. But whatever I put my mind to, I give it 100%. I wouldn't say I'm perfect, but in terms of raising my kids, I think I've done a good job. In terms of raising them, in terms of the academics, I'm still able to make time to see to their work. So sometimes I get home, I drop my phone in my bag, I won't go next to it just so I can be with them to ensure that their work is done. And what also helped me on this journey, being able to run my home and run my business, is I made my children very independent from the get-go. Once you're about 3 years, if I can get you to do simple tasks on your own, I leave you to do that. They are able to do their homework without me not necessarily being present. And for work too, sometimes it can be tough. There are days I actually break down and cry silently. When you have staff challenges, when you have stock challenges, you have home challenges. But through it all, I persevere. And I think knowing that I have a higher source that I can actually look up to, I know that God doesn't give us more than we can handle. Whatever He gives to you, you can handle. So I try and take everything one day at a time, have my to-do list, things that are more important, I take it off. The only thing I would say I haven't done too great is making time for myself and actually being in the present, maybe weekends, taking time off to relax. If there's work, hey, I'll let go of that party and actually work. Going on an entrepreneurial journey is a lonely one. And I'll just take you back to my past. I used to run a cosmetic store with my husband on the Spintex Road. And in between, I had that desire to go back to a 9 to 5. And a friend of mine then was HR manager, is an HR manager for an oil mining company, who actually encouraged me to apply for a job role in their office. I put in the application and with her assistance, I got in. So during that time, I was doing 9 to 5 and I was managing my store as well. At some point, I had to let go of the 9 to 5 and focus primarily on my business and grow it. If you're a mom, you have kids, oftentimes things change. You had plans probably to go to do something else. But when kids come in, kids become the center of your movement, of everything that you do. If for some reason you feel the urge to start your own business, put that idea down. No idea is stupid, no idea is not great. All I'll say is just start from where you are. It's so cliche, but it's true. Start with what you have, start from where you are, and grow it from there. If you have a 9 to 5 and you are able to impact positively in your 9 to 5 environment, and if that also gives you room to raise your kids, I'll advise you do so, because both sides has its benefits and its demerits as well. So it's simple. Just look deep within yourself. Are you able to take it on? Being an entrepreneur comes with a lot of pressure that most people don't say. Financial burden is also on you in terms of growth. And if you think you can go for it, why not? I'll suggest you do it. If you can do it alongside your 9 to 5, go for it as well. If it gets to a point where you know that the business really needs you and you need to leave your 9 to 5, you do so and focus fully on your entrepreneurial journey, which is always a joyous one, a difficult one, but at the end of the day, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
With football conversations, sports-related conversations, light-hearted, lifestyle-related conversations about the sport that we all love and are passionate about. Make a date with me.
Now to our Mom Plug session with Auntie Na Ode from Anyedu. Hi, Auntie Na.
Hello, Eno.
Auntie Na, so what made you get started on Anyedu? Anyedu, what inspired Anyedu?
Okay.
What is Anyedu?
Okay, Anyedu is a multimedia kids learning establishment, but we focus on raising blessed and successful children.
Okay.
We're saying that Africa needs leaders, we need people who are blessed and successful.
Okay.
And so how do we do it?
Okay.
So we are taking a proactive approach
Okay.
to education.
Okay.
And so it's holistic.
Right.
We educate the head, heart, and hand. Well, that's where we are. So that's what's different about it. We don't just focus on one thing. We just do a holistic thing for your child.
But this is focused on Christianity. I mean, this is Christian based.
Yes. That's why it's holistic. So we are looking at the spirit, the soul, and your body. So everything we do, we make sure that it's holistic. We touch all these three aspects of a human being, because that's what makes you a human being.
Auntie Na, one of the things that your company really focuses on is reading. I want you to walk us through that.
Okay.
How essential is reading to parents?
Okay. Reading is one of the most essential skills in life.
Okay.
You need reading because you want to acquire knowledge. You need reading. Your character development is reading. Spiritual development is reading. Right. So if you don't have a good reading habit, it sort of affects you in almost all dimensions.
Right.
Yeah, because you can grow. You see, about human beings, the most important thing about you is not these physical eyes, but the eyes on your mind and your spiritual eyes. So if you are limited by your imagination, it's how far you can see, it's how far you can go. Right. So if you can read, and reading is one of the best tools, because you see, when you were little and you were reading, you had never been to America or Paris, but you had your imagination had taken you there, and it had expanded. And so that's what it is. And once you don't get reading as a habit when you are young, it's very difficult for you. That's what makes us very reactive. Okay. Because it's difficult for us to simulate and see things so that we can implement. That's one of our biggest issues. So when you want to introduce change into a company or do something, it's very difficult for people because their mindset is sort of very limited.
Yeah, it's like very myopic. Yeah, true. So for you, you have a way of teaching parents how to read to their kids.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're going to walk us through how you do that exactly. So are these some of the tools that you're able to help them do that?
Yes. Okay. And so, as we're saying, reading is the most important thing. So that means that you have to make it one of the center pieces in your house.
Okay.
you have to make sure that you have books everywhere in your house.
Okay.
So that the environment is like welcoming towards or pointing towards happy reading.
Right.
So I would always say, first thing, have a reading nook. Something simple, is very little. Get some baskets and stack the books in and make it fun. Let your child see you reading, and even if it's not interesting, let him see you laughing at it. Then it's like, you know, children, they have this fear of missing out, so they want to see. Mommy,
want to be a part of it.
Want to be a part of it. So you start from there.
Yeah.
Start early.
Okay.
Start early. Even when the child is in your stomach, start. When you feel that they can't read, start. For example, you take a book and you start colorful books like these. You show to them, and you make it a consistent thing, like it's part of a routine. So those are some of the tips that I can give you.
So this is a book by I mean, you are the author of this book.
Yes,
isn't it?
I'm the author of this book, and this book is because parenting, there are 3 things that only a parent can give to your child.
Okay.
And the first one is confidence.
Okay.
The second one is character.
Okay.
And the third one is competence.
Okay.
So confidence stems out of love. If you don't love, you are not loved, you lack confidence in yourself. So your self-image, self-esteem,
it's all tied to that.
So we're using, and one of the things about Africans is that we are stingy, or it's very difficult for us to express love because we feel shy and all this. So I think this is a book that I wrote so that parents could easily relate to their children and be able to have conversations with them
with regards to love.
With regards to love. So that's one thing. So if I have something I call the ABC of reading. Okay. So the first thing about reading is, when you're reading to the child, make sure that the child is the one who's looking into the book. Okay. You don't. So if you're together, then it's this, and you. So it's more like make the child comfortable, hug the child or cuddle the child, and then you're there. And A means animate. Okay. The simplest way to animate is use your voice. Okay. You have 3 voices: your normal voice, your high voice. So you sort of speak through your nose, so it goes up. Then there's a low voice, so you can use that easily. So let's try it and say this. We're going to read this with your normal voice,
and then in my dreams I would see you
dancing, prancing about in lovely shoes. Oh wow! So once you do that,
it makes it more exciting.
Remember, you are competing against TV, video game, so you have to make it exciting. So A is animate. B is be consistent in what you're doing. So if it's every day that you want to read at 6, make it 6 o'clock. Then the C is that connect with your child. Every child has their way of learning. Sometimes people say, oh, when I was reading the book to my child, he was drawing, he was doing. That child has a different way of learning. He's listening, but he has to be engaged in something. I'm working with children over 30 years. This is what I've realized. Every child asks questions, but they're asking it in a different way. They're finding out things and learning in 3 different ways. They are the children who ask why. They are the curious children. They are I call them the scientists. They're asking why. They're the children who are asking what. They are the creatives. They're the ones that we normally give the knocks to, because what is this? What is this? I have a son like that. What is this? And then you say, oh, you're spoiling everything. The child is learning. Then there's one that says how. They are the talkers. The talkative. They are talking all the time. How is this possible? How is it? Because they are inquiring. And they'll say, what can I do? This, that. But they learn through hearing. So they need to hear themselves before they understand. So that's about. So you have to connect with your child through their learning style. When the children come to me, we use all the learning styles. So because I don't know which child that is, so we normally do what we call invitation boxes. So this is an invitation box for an I love you thing. In this thing, we have different things that would appeal to the child. So for example, if you had this book and you had this all set up, let's take a look at this book. It's about fruits. So in this box we have pineapple. We have the fruits all set up. So once you leave this in your reading nook, the child will be drawn towards it.
Right.
The child will now be, oh, what is this? And then we have in there little things that the child can do by themselves.
Okay.
So you just ignore the child, and she'll be playing, and mommy, what is this, mommy? And then be doing things independently.
Exactly.
Then you have your time to read.
Yeah.
And
so it's not a one size fits all. There are all these different things that you'll be able to teach different children.
Yes. Using their learning style.
Yes.
So if it's a child that is curious, we have science modules.
Okay.
So, for example, this fruits book, we do a science experiment on which fruit is the heaviest, which would sink, which would when we get a child that is creative, we create things like fun crafts from them.
Okay. So, Antina, you mentioned that the way to connect with your child through reading is A, animate.
Yes. B, be consistent with the time. Every day, 6 o'clock. That's it.
Right.
And then the C is connect. How do you connect? You connect through the child's learning style.
Okay. Right.
So those are the ABCs of reading.
Okay.
And there's more coming up on my website.
Okay. So where can someone connect with you?
Through my website, www.anyedu.com.
Okay, Anyedu, that's AANYEDOO.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
And then on Instagram?
On Instagram, yes.
Also the same name?
At Anyedu, yes.
Okay,
yes.
all right. So I know you have a lot in store for us in the coming months, and if people want to know more about how they can actually read to their children, they just have to connect with you on your website.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Antina, and thank you for tuning in. Today we learned a lot about homeschooling in Ghana. We learned about early learning tools for kids, and Antina has taken us through reading to your children, how to properly read to your children. We can't wait to connect with you. You should also connect with us on all our social media platforms, on MX24GH, on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Talkative Mom. See you next week. Bye.
For digital or TV, say hello to the MX24 studios. We're the prime location for your music video shoots, live productions, TV shows, and more. From state-of-the-art equipment to a very skilled production team, we've got you covered. Step into our modern and spacious studio with a changeable lighting system and foolproof sound. Our touchscreen studio projection monitors come with other features, including Wi-Fi connection, screen mirroring, and a remote workspace mode. Take advantage of our high-quality cameras to shoot in 4K and a variety of the best lighting equipment guaranteed to put life into your sets. Locate us on the first floor of the Silicon House building off the Boundary Road, East Legon. Give us a call on 024-235-5956 or 054-454-8612. You can also email us at info@mx24gh.com.
Hi there, I'm excited to come your way with football conversations, sports-related conversations, light-hearted, lifestyle-related conversations about the sport that we all love and are passionate about. Make a date with me.